Okay, let's go. We're up to Siman Reish Samach Gimel Seif Yud Aleph. Says the Mekabel, Afal pi shelei hispalu hakahal adayin, even though the tzibur have not yet been Mekabel Shabbos, im kodam hayochid v'hispalel shel Shabbos, if the yochid himself daven is Mekabel Shabbos and davens Kabbalah Shabbos, min ba'od yom, and davens Mariv cholalov Kabbalah Shabbos, he has been Mekabel Shabbos upon himself, va'asa b'asiyas melacha. So for whatever reason, let's say the tzibur are davening at 7:30. Plug is now, 6:55 or something, or whatever. So he, for whatever reason, davened early. He is now Mekabel Shabbos, even though the rest of the tzibur have not. He is also b'asiyas melacha. Even if he says, I'm just davening, but I'm not making Mekabel Shabbos, it doesn't work. Says the Mishnah Berurah Yud Aleph, Sifkat Memtes, of course, he can't do it before plug. Even though with hadlaka he can make the t'nai, but tefillah shani, tefillah is different because once he's mentioned kedusha Shabbos, then he has been Mekabel Shabbos, and therefore it's also basiyas malacha, and it's now Shabbos proper for him. Sifyud base. Imroiv hakahal kiblu aleim Shabbos. This is an interesting halacha. If the majority of your community, of your tzibur, have been Mekabel Shabbos, hamiyut nimshachim achareihem al karcham. The minority are sort of bound to follow them, and they're Mekabel Shabbos as well, al karcham, even against their will. Says the Mishnah Berurah Nun Aleph, imroiv hakahal ve'imroiv hakahal lo hoy beis hakneses. If the majority of the tzibur were not in shul, in other words, they're all davening b'yechidus at home, ein nimshachim achamiyut. Yeah, imagine like a COVID situation where everyone's davening b'yechidus at home, then ein nimshachim achamiyut. V'chein be'ir sheyesh bo boti knesias harbe. So too, a city where you've got lots of shuls, ein achas nimsheches acha chaverta. One is not bound by the other one. One doesn't sort of make the other one liable to keep Shabbos, to be Mekabel Shabbos. Even if one is a very big shul. But if you make a minyan in a house, even if it's a fixed regular minyan, bottle etz la rov, then he is bottle etz of the rov. Now, the big question, of course, is how does that work nowadays? Are you nimshach after the Beis HaKnesses? Because we're living in a community, Orach Chaim, where there's lots and lots of different shuls. So how does it work? So if you look at 57, he addresses this issue. 57. Avol Beis HaKnesses echad. So first of all, he says, what if you've got one shul, sheyesh bo shnei minyanim shemispalim zeh achazeh? So you've got like the early minyan and the late minyan. Like for Shari Tefillah, they've got now, for example, they've got one before plug, one after plug. So this Shabbos isn't exactly the times, but they'll have one at 6:30 and one at 7:30. So one is before plug and one is after. So 2 minyan, one shul, 2 minyanim. Of a minyan rishon mispalim rov hakal. Let's say the majority of people come to the first minyan. Ve'ilu minyan hasheni ein mispalim el hamiyut. Kalsu b'shal shuvs minchas yitzchok shamiyut nigra acha harov legabe issa melocha deraisa. That's wild. Yeah, so that means you can daven with a later minyan, but since your community have davened, the rov of your community have davened early, so then you're sort of nimshach after them, and therefore you can't do this melacha. Shekimish mispalim eshar tefillas hashabbos beis hakneses echad. So there's only one shul. Nechshev hom ketzib echad lechol inyan. Meidach, that's the minchas yitzchok. Meidach da nagon Rabbi Yashiv. Rabbi Yashiv argues. He says, "She'ofen ze ein hamiyut nigra acharov, shekiven sheim minyanim kavuim nechshev kol tzibur v'nei azmal in Kabbalah Shabbos." Yeah, they actually know. If I want to daven in the later minyan, I want to daven in the later minyan because I don't want to be Mekabel Shabbos so early, and therefore I'm not nigra acharem, and therefore I can't daven later. But we'll see. This is quite academic in our communities. He says, because this is the next important point of his manenu. Hayre Rabbi Yashiv. Din zeh sheyochid nigra acha beis hakneses sheboi hu rogel lispalel amur dafka b'mkoyim she'ein boim ele minyan echad kavua lenusach sheboi hu noeg lispalel. This halacha only applies to where you've got one community, one town. It's like shtetl. This is where everyone's davening, and therefore you are nigra after them. You have to sort of bound by their Kabbalah Shabbos. Avim b'mkoyim seinu sheyesh minyanim l'roiv l'chol nusach. Then ein hayochid nigra la'acha Kabbalah Shabbos ha'achrin shebe'ir. Then you're only nimshach you're only sort of bound by the last minyan in town. And as far as very poshut, because if I'm davening here, let's say it's I'm driving back from holiday and I'm coming on a Friday afternoon for whatever reason, and I'm stuck in traffic, and I know that this shul davens at 7, this one's 7:30. The latest show in town is at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and it's still. So I can choose to daven in that minyan. So the fact that another shul davened earlier, I'm not nimshach after them. So I think that qualifies it a lot in our community. Really, this halacha would apply to where there's one minyan in town or one shul.
In Holland, they have one that's it, 1 million.
So there you go. Okay.
Not 1 million, sorry, one time.
Oh, really?
One time for every shul.
Interesting. Okay.
For this, I think. For this
yeah, could be. Okay, let's go weiter. Yud Gimel. Adam shebal le'ir be'erev Shabbos. A guy comes to town on Erev Shabbos, and he realizes, oh boy, they're ready to Mekabel Shabbos. Even though it's still light outside and it's still not technically Shabbos for the rest of the world, as it were, since he is nimshach achareihem, if he has muktzah items on him, then manicha lipol, he's got to let them fall off. In other words, he's bound by their Kabbalah Shabbos, and therefore he should just sort of empty his pockets. Manichim lipol. Says the Mishnah Berurah Nun Beis, manicha lipol. Pirush shehilech lecheder manich. He goes to his room. Manicha lipol sham latzniya. He's got to empty his pockets there to in his room. Or kamesh goes to Simon Reish Samachvav Sifyud Beis. Va'ayin sham b'Mishnah Berurah u'behalacha. Good. Yudalet. Im b'yoyim ha'ma'unan. Okay, well, the Gemara talks about these situations. It's a cloudy day, and this is before we have, luach and zmanim and things like that. And people look, is it dark now to be Mekabel Shabbos? So it's a yom hama'unan. It's a cloudy day, and told tzibur v'choshu shechashecha. And the tzibur made a mistake, and they thought it was now dark, and Shabbos had come in, and therefore v'idliku neiros v'ispalu tfilas arvis shel Shabbos. They therefore lit candles. They daven mariv. V'achach nispazra ovim v'zoch chacham. And all of a sudden the clouds dispersed. The sun shone. So long as they were davening after plug, Chazal were not matriach them to daven mariv a second time, because even though it was done betos, Chazal were not matriach them to daven again. But if it was an individual who made this mistake, he needs to daven mariv again. The Kabbalah Shabbos because their Kabbalah Shabbos was mistaken. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Berurah till there. We'll finish off this sif. It's a short sif, but let's just do the Mishnah Berurah to there. Nun Gimel Einam Tzrichim. So we said that if it's a cloudy day and they daven mariv early mistakenly, they don't need to daven mariv again. Says the Mishnah Berurah Nun Gimel, that even though it was done by mistake and therefore you may have thought that this is not a valid mariv, Chazal will not matriach them to daven again. So long it was after plug. The kodim plug mincha afilu tzibur nami machzirin. Because if it was before plug, then even the tzibur they've got to daven again. The lav's man tefillah arvis hiklal, because it's just too early. You can't. It's like davening Kabbalah Shabbos now. Was man plug mincha ayin le'el b'siman reish lamed gimel. Okay, tzorich hu, but the yochid who did this, he has got to daven again. Kiven shebetos hispalel shesov shekvach chashecha, because he thought it was dark. V'adin b'chol nami dinahachi. So too during the week. Kiven shu noeg tomid hispal mar bizmanoi kadrabon. Let's say he davens mariv always at nacht, like the shittas rabbanon. V'ayom betos hispalel. And today, for some reason, he davened early. The whole tefillah was a mistake, and therefore it's a special dispensation for a tzibur who mistakenly davened early, but not for a yochid. Okay, let's go back to the Mekabel. V'yesh omrim, bottom line, v'yesh omrim she'osim she'adliku neiros asurim b'asiyas melacha u'sha'an shebayis mutarin. Those people in this situation where they were Mekabel Shabbos betos and they were madlik neiros, then asurim b'asiyas melacha, because by lighting candles they were Mekabel Shabbos, and u'sha'an shebayis mutarin, but the rest of the house are not bound by that. Excuse me. V'yesh omrim she'osim ner shehudlik l'shem Shabbos. that candle which was lit for Shabbos also ligabo lahosif b'shem, and you can't touch it and you can't add any oil. Va'afilu im kava also l'taltal. Even if it went out, you can't be metaltal. Says the Mishnah Buras Nun Vav she'osim shidliku. Afim lo yispalu, even if they didn't daven. Aval b'lo hadloka, but without lighting candles. After yispalu to the Shabbos. So since they davened by mistake, they didn't realize it was still daylight. Lo yishma Kabbalah is not called a Kabbalah. V'tam hayesh oimrim tesfirlu to Kabbalah she alidei hadlok adifa. They say that by lighting candles, it's also to touch them and you Mekabel Shabbos, because they say that Kabbalah Shabbos is more of a potent, effective way to bring in Shabbos than actually just davening. Why? Because the Isbei Maisa, I've done the Maisa of Hadloka rather than just a Dibur Ba'alma of Tefillah. V'ayim b'achredim she'aviu kama b'shem kama g'deli ha'poiskim t'sfir lehu to Kabbalah sibur b'toros afilu rak al Tefillah shma Kabbalah. They say no. They say the Kabbalah, if a whole tzibur davened, then that's considered Kabbalah Shabbos, even b'toros, even if it was done by mistake. Rak shebezeh in ha'miut nimshachin ach ha'roiv kim sheb'toros hoysa Kabbalah. The only difference is that the miut are not nimshach acha the roiv when the roiv u'mekabel Shabbos b'tois. That's the only difference. Ve'ein lahakal neged elapos, you shouldn't be makil. However, v'mokum tchak yesh lismech al dea kamaisa shebeshulchan aruch. You can be soimech on that first opinion that you're not being mekabel, that the yochid is not mekabel Shabbos yet. Liga. So once you've lit candles, even if it was b'tois, you can't touch the candle and you can't be moisif shemen. Says the Mishnah Berurah Nun Zayin. Hainu afilu acher shelo hidlik adayin lo yakil Shabbos. Even someone who's not been Mekabel Shabbos, he can't touch the candles or adds. Ken kosev arzura. V'chosev amogen Avram hatam to ozel l'shitosei the Kabbalah sibur b'toish shma Kabbalah. That the Kabbalah tzibur, even if it was done by mistake, is considered a proper Kabbalah. V'imkein huktzah haner lemitzvasa, and therefore this ner is now muktzah for the l'shem mitzvah. V'kim shehuktzah lebaylim huktzah lekol. Since it's also for them, it's also to everyone. V'gam also ligaba, and you can't touch it, even someone who's not Mekabel Shabbos yet. We're worried he might use the oil or use it for his benefit, to use the lights. If someone lit candles when it was still daylight, and he was made it Tanai not to Mekabel Shabbos, still that ner is hooks the mitzvasa, but also the shtamish b'itash mishchol, you can't use it for a mundane purpose. Since you've been made in muksa, it's also lakol. So that's relevant. For example, we've spoken about this before, that a woman can make a tanai. So she lights candles, like we said yesterday. The Mishnah Berurah says that if she wants to daven mincha, she hasn't daven mincha yet, and she's running a bit late. She can light candles, or she wants to daven by the kosel. By the way, I saw the Sitz Eliezer says Mefurish that davening by the kosel is enough of a tzorech to allow you to make a tanai. That means a woman can light Shabbos candles. It's quite motzu this. She wants to light Shabbos candles, and then she wants to hop in a taxi or something, or be Mechal Shabbos still, to get to the kosel, or she wants to have a mincha by the kosel. So then she can be Mekabel Shabbos with the tanai. But the point that we're making over here is that the Shabbos candles, even though she has not been Mekabel Shabbos, she's made a tanai, would still be muktzah in terms of not getting benefit from the lights. You can't use them, or you can't be most of the oil, you can't touch it, etc., etc. Peseda. Okay, that's the end of Sif Tes Vov. Mr. Hashem, the end of Sif Yudalad, I mean. So Mr. Hashem will continue Sif Tes Vov after the break.